Beardo Banjo.
Hello there, all you lovely internet people. Or am I the internet person? Because I'm on the internet and you're just watching the internet. I don't know. That's a debate for a different day. Welcome to this video today. I don't really know what it's going to be. Please allow me a few minutes to make something a little bit weird. I was planning today to make a video about Larcenauts. That was always the plan. Share some gameplay, tell you my opinion, etc, etc. But then I played it yesterday on launch day and decided I don't want to do that. I didn't have a great time, so I thought I would include my kind of Larcenauts review and opinions into this video here today. And this video is basically just going to be like a news show, a news roundup of all the interesting things that are happening in video games. For me personally anyway. People like those kind of videos, right? They're popular on YouTube. So I'm going to just talk about a few things that are going on in the world of gaming at the moment. And I'm going to start with my Larcenauts review. Alright, let's kick this little news show off with some Larcenauts talk. Larcenauts, what can I say? Now, I honestly was going to make a video today, share some PC VR gameplay, share some Quest gameplay, give my general opinions about it, and as always, try and make something relatively entertaining. But I played it yesterday and I struggled to have any fun, and that was really damning for me. Now, if you've been on Steam, you will have seen the launch day problems. The game is currently not running on Vive headsets or Index or WMD headsets. It's just working on Oculus headsets due to a bug that was encountered quite late into development and the launch of the game. So that means immediately that the game is limited to Oculus, which is frustrating. There are a huge amount of negative reviews already on Steam because if you launch a VR game onto Steam, the understanding is that it should work on pretty much all VR headsets. But the problems don't stop there. Now, I jumped in yesterday on launch day and played for around an hour and a half and bumped into 2 actual people. The game is a 6v6 hero shooter, very similar to Overwatch in its design, objective based or team deathmatch based matches, and it really relies on there being a community there for it to be any fun. Now, I know that I only bumped into 2 real people yesterday because the bots in this game are in a pretty sorry state of affairs right now. They run in lines together, they stop when they reach crossroads. They're not... The intelligence part of the artificial intelligence in that sentence is really debatable. I don't think they're particularly intelligent. And that killed yesterday for me. Now, I also know I only bumped into 2 people because in the hub area for Larcenauts, there is a social board and you can see who you've played with recently, and there were only 2 actual people or accounts that I could speak to, send friend requests to, or invite to games. Now, that's sad. It's not something I want to see happen in the VR community. It's not something I want to see happen to a VR developer, but the game does have problems. Sprinting in the game currently, I think they've just patched this morning, but for everyone who played yesterday, sprinting in the game felt like a flat screen game because as soon as you start to sprint, your hands are pulled to their sides, you no longer have any control over them, and your character sprints, you can no longer aim, you can't move your arms. In a VR game, that feels fundamentally wrong. Now, I was getting ready to create a video, that was quite positive about Larcenauts. Myself and many VR content creators were given access to a pre-release build of the game and we played it up until launch and we had some great games. There is a lot of potential here for Larcenauts. When you get a full 6v6 server, there's fun to be had. We had a lot of fun, we had a lot of laughs, a lot of banter, and I could see the potential, which is why I wanted to wait until yesterday to see if that transferred over to launch day before making my review, and I'm glad I did, because clearly there has been a disconnect. Right now for me, the price point feels a little high. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in the game in terms of the AI filling those servers, which might be tied to dropping the price point, or at least giving some kind of free weekend to kind of let people understand what the game's about. Fixing the sprinting, fixing two-hand aiming currently isn't in there. You can stabilize the gun with your second hand, but it doesn't impact where you're actually aiming the gun. So your hand will move around, but the gun stays pointed. This is the only hand that's aiming the gun. It has issues. I won't go into it any further than that. You can see it from the Steam pages. You can see it from Oculus. I think at this stage, I would probably give it a 2 out of 5 on the Oculus Store as a review. And I would keep an eye on it. I think there's potential here. As I say, when we played as a group of creators and we were in there running around with actual people, there was a lot of fun to be had. But jumping in now, and being greeted on launch day by just bots is a pretty sorry state of affairs, and things need to change for more people to be attracted to the game. So that's Larcenauts. In its current state, it needs a lot of work. I do wish the developers all the best. I think they're onto something with a hero shooter in VR, but it hasn't been executed properly. Should have been delayed, should have been play tested a bit longer to ensure these things didn't happen on launch day, like support for other VR headsets falling over. Sorry state of affairs. I hope it gets better. That's Larcenauts. Let's move on. Right, the second thing I want to talk about today, which is, super popular, everyone loves this, is a new Oculus Quest update. Fantastic. Version 30 is coming, and I'm predicting it now. All content creators will tell you it's the biggest update that Oculus has ever had. New big update. I might put that in my title for this video. Now, version 30 is starting to roll out now to Oculus Quest owners, and this one's got some good news in it for original Quest owners who've been a little bit neglected since the Quest 2's launch. I think we can all agree on that. Version 30 sees Airlink coming to original Quest. I think that's the biggest headline for me anyway. I've got the patch notes up here in the blog post, but for me, yeah, Airlink landing on original Quest is a huge deal. I've felt the pain of original Quest owners since the Quest 2 came out and became so popular, and immediately Facebook and Oculus just pushed the original Quest to the side, and it just stopped getting the love that the Quest 2 has been receiving. And that's fine, that's kind of what happens in console cycles, but the original Quest hadn't been out that long at that point, so I could see that really, really hurting people who invested in the original. Now, Airlink is coming to original Quest. That's kind of the big headline, but there are some other features in version 30. Now, firstly, you can swap your mic, which is cool. So if you're in a party now with friends, maybe you're sitting there, you're consoling your friend because his wife's cheating on him. You're saying, hey, it's going to get better, everything's fine, and you're playing a game of Onward, but then you realize your teams suck. You can now switch to team chat on the fly and say, guys, can you sort it out? You suck. And then you can switch back to party and console your friend whose wife is cheating on him. So that's pretty cool. That's a new feature that's coming soon. They've also added a feature called Flex Space, which is kind of like multitasking. It's like they're trying to create that work environment within VR. I think we all know that's where Oculus is moving towards. Now on my desktop right here, I've got like 3 or 4 tabs open. You can now effectively do that in Oculus. You can have multiple tabs running as long as they're 2D apps. So like storefront, browser, your fitness stats, that kind of thing. You couldn't have multiple games, of course. It wouldn't work, but 2D apps, you can now multitask, which is lovely. And then there's also some accessibility improvements coming. There's the most interesting one of all the accessibility features. Actually, there's 2. One of them is a color correction that's now being launched onto the Quest. You can correct the colors, and I'll try and put the little graphic that they've used to display this in the video because it's really interesting. I wonder how this will transfer over to games, and if it will at all, or if it's just on the home screen. Because the difference is when you switch between these different color palettes or color settings or color warmths, I guess, is pretty massive, and I wonder what impact that would have on games if it transfers over to games. And the second thing, which is really interesting from an accessibility standpoint, is they're adding a standing adjustment for people who play seated, so you can change your height. That is huge to me. I feel like that should have been there since the very start. It's something I always get frustrated with, where I go into a game and it hasn't quite calibrated my height right, and I want to just adjust it. That seems to be something they're working towards. The feature's called Raise View, and you can literally make adjustments to your height so that you feel the right size. Now, that's only going to work in supported apps, I believe, supported games straight away, so I wouldn't expect to see it go into everything, but it's something they're growing, and it's going to be experimental at the start. So yeah, being able to change your height from a seated position, or I guess a standing position as well, is a pretty cool thing. That's version 30. Accessibility, multitasking, being able to console your friend, and then switch to game chat, and Airlink coming to original Quest. The biggest update ever for the Quest platform. Let's move on to the next thing. I'm not going to talk about this one for a long time. It makes me kind of salty when I talk about this. Adverts in your eyeballs. They're coming for us. They're going to plug the Kellogg's adverts into our brains soon and try and sell us cars and cereal and all kinds of mad things. Adverts are coming to the Quest platform. In its current state, developers are being allowed to opt in or opt out of this service and then implement adverts into their games. Now, I think you'd be a fool if you didn't think this was going to happen. I think we all knew at some point this was going to happen. Facebook love advertising revenue. Advertising revenue is huge. And fundamentally, adverts have kind of always existed within games. I remember playing FIFA and seeing kind of Adidas and McDonald's and things on the pitch around the sides, and the same in Forza on billboards and in many games. But VR is different. In VR, it's right there in my face, and it can break the immersion if it's done incorrectly. So if I'm playing a game and I glance over and I see an advert and that makes some kind of pop-up happen like, oh hey, I saw you looking at me, would you like to go to this website and get 20% off your next Tesco shop? I don't want to see that. That is enough for me to kill a game. If it's implemented incorrectly into a game, I will not play that game because I won't want that to be jumping out into my face. We all knew this was coming. It's sad to see that we've arrived at that day. On the one hand, yeah, if implemented correctly, it will give smaller developers an income source that they probably aren't getting from VR games, because if we're all honest, it's still a niche market and there isn't a huge amount of money in it. But on the other hand, if this grows out of control, which, if Big Brother's taught us anything, it probably will, it's not going to be good. If there's adverts everywhere and, they're going to use your eye tracking soon to be able to figure out what you're looking at and for how long, and the effectiveness of that advert based on me as a person and my play styles and my play time, it's crazy. By the time I'm 50, I swear the world's going to be a mess. Adverts are coming. It doesn't look great, but it was kind of inevitable. Let's watch this space. One last point on this, a lot of developers are pushing back against it. I did see this morning the developers of Racket NX have said, no, we're not putting it in our games. Top Golf, no, didn't want it in the game. So this isn't going to be every game, but some developers are going to start to implement this. Let's see how it plays out. And that's basically it for this little VR news roundup of the week. Now, I will leave you with a story that's not necessarily VR related, but is gaming related and has completely grabbed my imagination. If you're a horror game fan like me, and like me you've been crying every night because Silent Hill has yet to make a comeback, please do me a favour, go and Google Blue Box Games and do some research. Go down that rabbit hole that I've been falling down for a few days now. Now, to give you a very brief overview, Blue Box Games are an indie developer that no one's really heard of, but they've had a registered Twitter handle since around 2015. This company is making a horror game exclusively for the PlayStation 5. That horror game is called Abandoned, apparently. Now, Abandoned is unique in the fact that Sony and PlayStation on Tuesday, so Tuesday this week coming, 22nd, are giving Abandoned an app on the PlayStation, an official app that will show real-time rendered teasers and trailers for the game. Now, that's a unique offering for a small indie developer that no one's heard of, for a brand new horror IP that, again, no one's heard of. Now, a lot of people online have gone mad thinking this is actually Hideo Kojima creating something to get people hyped up for a reveal which is actually going to end up being Silent Hill. He's done this in the past with Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain, and PT itself was a finely crafted teaser for something that ended up being Silent Hill. Now, there are a lot of things in this. As I say, this rabbit hole goes super, super deep. The biggest things for me are the fact that the company only has one person registered working for them, a person by the name of Hasan Kahraman, now HK, Hideo Kojima. And the second biggest thing for me, and there is a long line of big things, is the fact that Jeff Keighley has followed Blue Box Games for a long time. Personal friends with Hideo Kojima, Jeff Keighley, has followed this studio for a long time, a studio that no one's really known about, and Jeff Keighley doesn't follow a lot of people on Twitter. Jeff Keighley also received a DM from Hasan Kahraman saying, hey, we have a new horror game coming out, can we showcase it sometime at one of your summer game events? Now, I will lose my mind if this is Silent Hill, and I think most people will. Go and check it out, have a little look down this rabbit hole. Blue Box Games crafting a game called Abandoned. It seems far too coincidental and far too wrapped in mystery to be just another brand new horror IP. Check it out, I'll leave you with that one. It's a fun little thing to go off and do for your weekend if you like games like me. I hope you all had a great week. E3 for me was a little bit flat this year. What did you think? Let me know down in the comments. I think for me, the biggest wins or the things that got me most excited were Halo. I want to play some multiplayer. I think that looks great. I think Stalker 2 looked amazing. Atomic Heart looked great. Breath of the Wild 2, of course, and Monkey Ball. I'm excited for all those things, but there wasn't a huge amount of this year's E3 that really wowed me. Did you feel the same? Let me know down in the comments. Let me know about any of the things I've spoken about today down in the comments. I'll chat to you over the weekend. Hopefully you have a great one, and I'll see you next week for another round of videos about video games and VR video games and other things. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you all very soon. See you later.